Howdy folks. So recently I bought a used computer case. It was actually a full computer that had died, and the owner was really pretty much just selling it for the case and fans, and was getting something else, so I just sort of threw it in. And I haven't even really tested the hardware, and I immediately knew just from looking at it what the problem was, and that is the power supply that it comes with. And this has to be the most atrocious power supply I have ever seen in at least the last decade or more. And I just thought I'd share the absolute hilarity that is this power supply. I haven't opened it up yet. I'm going to do that pretty much on camera here. So the first thing that you can tell is it's your generic silver box without any real branding. There is a label. I'll show you that in a moment. But the thing that I noticed immediately was the wiring feels awful. Like it's very stiff and it's very thin. And if we look at it, it is, where is it here? This is 20 gauge. This wire is 20 gauge. So I have never seen a power supply use such thin wire before. And this, by the way, is a 500 watt power supply. And you pick it up and it weighs almost nothing. It's like there's nothing in here. And obviously this isn't field-o-vision, so I got out a kitchen scale and I want to show you just how bad this is. So we just tear this here, and I'll put the power supply on the scale here. We're looking at, without the cables, we're looking at around just over 600 grams on the scale here. That's nothing. So for sort of comparison, I found this Corsair Cx430. This is a lower wattage power supply, and of course the CX line from Corsair was a budget model. So again, I'm going to hold the cables so that we don't skew the results here. And we're looking at almost 14, I don't know, what do we call that? 1,300, 1,400. It's literally more than double the weight, this power supply, than this one. And it's just awful. So this is the label, and it's got this Power Link branding on here. It's a whole table here, so this is the highest wattage one. There it is, 500 watts. Not making that up. Interestingly, this has a UL recognized stamp on it. I'd really love to actually look this up and see if that's actually legit or not. But yeah, so let's crack this open. Interestingly enough, I didn't do this. This sort of warranty sticker's already been broken. So let's pop the cover off and just see how atrocious this is on the inside. I have not yet plugged this in because I really don't want to. So here it is with the cover off, and as sort of expected, there's not very much in here. And the first thing that struck me as kind of odd here is the soldering that's on these mains connectors. If you take a look, and hopefully this comes across here, the soldering on here is absolutely atrocious. In fact, if you actually look at this blue wire here, there's strands of the wire that are separated from the solder joint. And to me, it honestly, it's difficult for me to believe that this is factory. But at the same time, if you look at the other, the main switch and the voltage selector, they also look like garbage, right? The ground looks fine, but those all look like garbage. And so I really wonder if this has been modified, or I don't know how that counts as a repair. So I'm not really quite sure. The heat sinks are anemic, as sort of expected. They're literally it's just a single piece of aluminum that's been stamped to try to create the illusion of fins. We've got some caps from undisclosed brand. Yep, undisclosed brand. You can actually see that the caps are actually smaller than the silkscreen. So I wonder if they had originally designed for larger caps and just put smaller ones in there. Which is interesting because this is supposedly the highest wattage model. So you'd expect that if they downsize, they would downsize on the lower wattage models, not the higher wattage. Could be that they found a smaller package, but not really quite sure there. Interesting mounting of that that toroid there. They've got they've got a decent amount of goo. This is not the yellow glue of death. This all looks pretty normal. We've got bulging capacitors, as sort of you would expect. The positioning of some of these leads is a little odd. Like this down here, the lighting's not that great, but this diode lead is... Oh, hello. Let me get a flashlight so you can see this. Okay, so I've got a light on here because I think this is worth seeing. So the first thing I noticed was this diode here, and just how bad the positioning of this lead is to this resistor down here and to this heatsink. And I thought, well, what if this was to vibrate or move? And I touched this diode, and the whole diode is loose. Like, I'm not flexing the leads. It's not soldered into the board anymore. And if you actually look down there, there's a whole bunch of discoloration on the board down there. So this diode has obviously gotten very, very hot. And I think it's either desoldered itself from the bottom of the board, or the traces have separated from the other side of the board, because this is just single-sided, and it's just become unsoldered. So that's probably... I don't think this would work as it's given. I mean, there's a lot of discoloration in this board, actually, in a number of other places. Down here, there's some discoloration around that power resistor, and let's see, it's really those two locations, just this area here and that area there, and that's probably why this is the worst capacitor as far as bulging goes, and it's of course in the heat zone, so that doesn't surprise me. So let's pop this board out here and take a look at the underside, because I think that might be interesting. We'll see what kind of... actually, I wonder if there's any surface mount on this at all now that I look at it, because there is a control chip over here, so there may not be any surface mount. We can take a look at the fan and see what that is as well. So, with it disassembled pretty much all the way, the fan here, just DC brushless fan. No brand, don't recognize the logo, don't really care. The board's the most interesting part, and it's pretty much exactly like what I expected. So, the whole board has no surface mount of any kind on here. It's all just wave soldered all through hole. And down right here, of course, this is that diode, and you can see that, yes, indeed, it is completely crustified on both sides, and the board is crispy. The traces have sort of delaminated from the board. This has gotten really hot. I wonder if I can pull this out from the other side. Yep, there you go. I can. I'm not even holding the camera. There you go. See, I'm just pulling on the diode. It's coming straight out. So this isn't even attached into the board anymore. I wonder, is the other side in? Can I pull the whole diode out? I don't have a good grip on it. Yep. The diode is completely desoldered itself. Excellent. Well, that's excellent thermal design. I mean, you can see that they left the leads on this to use the leads as a heatsink, but that was clearly not enough. So it's kind of dusty and kind of disgusting. But yeah, you can see just how bad that is there. So I don't know. I don't really know what the point of this video is. Basically, just don't buy these things, man. Like, it's really easy to get a good quality power supply these days. You know, and the thing is, the owner that I bought this from, you know, he basically was telling me, you know, he'd been having problems with the computer, you know, ever since it was new, and eventually, you know, he sort of died on him, and he gave up on it. And well, you know, it's an AMD FX system. It's not very new. It's pretty old. It's one of those cool motherboards that supports both DDR2 and DDR3. It's got slots for both. Kind of cool. I haven't powered the system up yet, but I suspect it's fine, and all the rest of the stuff is fine. I guarantee you this is the issue, and because there's no way this would have worked as is, nor would it have been reliable. And so I suspect that the entire time he was fighting with this garbage power supply. The rest of the system was good. ASRock motherboard, you know, a nice graphics card, sound card, Corsair memory, everything was good. Just the power supply was absolute ass. So don't cheap on your power supply, people. It's not good. You know, it's either going to end in it burns your house down and takes your computer with it and all your data, or in this case, it's just going to cause you problems for, you know, the entire life of the system. So, yeah, you know, I honestly, I want to say I kind of expected it to be worse than this. I expected there to be less in here than this, but then again, this is the highest end model of this 500 watt, and I guess you do need at least this much to make supposedly a 500 watt supply. And I have no doubt that if this was working correctly, it would output 500 watts. Probably not be very clean. There's not a whole lot of filtering here, so I don't think it would have been terribly clean for 500 watts, but it would have output it. Just, I don't think it could do that for very long. And there was nothing. I don't think this system used anywhere close to 500 watts. I'd say this system probably maxed out at, I don't know, 250. So this was overkill. So anyway, yeah, this is going straight in the trash. But I don't know. Thought some of you might want to see the cringe. So till next time, bye.